Gosh, what's going on? Okay. Yeah. I don't know what. Right. I want you to just look at this. Did we do this last time when we were? Okay, no. I did not share the screen yet. Okay. Okay. Can you see my screen? Hello? Can you see this?
Yes, miss.
Right. So, did I show you this last time? Hello, talk to me, please. Did you see this last time? I don't remember. I remember.
I don't think so.
Yeah, okay, good. Don't write to me now. What is this? What is this? Don't write now. I don't know. I'm not going to read. Right. So we were talking about the cardiovascular system in mammals. We said that the in mammals the circulatory system is double circulatory system, right? So over here, okay, let me just. I don't know. See this internet also now. This is the last bit. One second. Let me reload the page. Right. So the pathway of blood through the heart and the blood vessels is easy to understand if we leave out the details at first and just consider the basic design of the system. Right. So if this is the heart, this is the left, this is the right, this is the pulmonary circuit, and this is the systemic circuit. I'm not going through what is pulmonary, what is systemic. We've done that already. So when you look at this way, the right heart pumps blood to the pulmonary circuit where the blood picks up oxygen from the lungs, and the left heart then pumps it into the systemic circuit, right? It looks like this. So, uh, the actual appearance of the cardiovascular circuit is much more complex than this. So, if I put this right, we can we it will gradually bend this way. I mean, look at this. Look, it should be like this because this systemic circuit starts from the left part of the heart and the pulmonary circuit starts from the right part of the heart. So now if I do this, of course, you know this different. We will go through the different parts of the heart in a minute. But before that, look, the double circulatory system looks like this. Can you all see this? I mean, feels like I'm talking to myself, but do you understand what I'm trying to show you here?
I think it's lagging. It might be your internet.
That's Aza.
I see. Yeah, I understand it, miss. I'm sorry that it seems like you're talking to nobody.
What is
Yeah,
happening?
but do you see this? From the left,
I
it
can
goes
see.
down to the systemic circuit, and then it comes to the right part of the heart, from where it goes to the pulmonary circuit, and back to the left part of the heart. Right? Okay. So that's what I was trying to show you here. Uh, Right. If we go to a little bit in behind, as in, I want you to go through the different parts of the heart before I start, so that I know where you are, like, whether you understand everything. So let me open this. Right. Okay. We did this bit, right? We finished how the cycle of the cardiac cycle, didn't we? Like, did you do this slide where it told you how the blood moves from the right to left, from the right atrium? You have to talk. Okay. What? What happened to you all today? Why so quiet?
Miss, we've done a single circulatory system.
No, we've not just done the single circulatory system.
Yeah,
We've
we
done the
also
double
did the
circulatory system.
systemic circulation carries as well.
Miss, we haven't reached there yet.
Yeah.
What, have you not done this particular? I had stopped
We
here.
have done the part, like
Yeah,
the function.
we stopped there. Like,
I told you about the different vessels, aorta, pulmonary
I
artery,
know, we
pulmonary.
stopped here, miss.
Yeah, so that's what I'm asking you. I have also done this, haven't I?
Uh,
How the deoxygenated blood. Yes, I've gone through this with you.
I no,
The diff
I don't think we have done that.
Okay,
We haven't done it.
Yeah.
okay. Okay, then I'll start from here. Right.
Miss, you did do that. Like, you did finish this slide.
I did, but did I not explain each vessel?
You did explain the aorta,
Vessel.
pulmonary
Okay.
artery,
Did I talk
pulmonary
about
vein.
the valves, tricuspid and bicuspid valve?
No,
I didn't talk about the valves.
no, you
No?
did not. No.
Okay. So the between the atria and the ventricles, there are these valves, right? Between left atrium and left atrium, there is this valve. This is called a bicuspid valve. Bicuspid, Bicuspid. Okay, you'll come to know about this in a minute more. Now, it's also called mitral valve. And why is it called bicuspid valve? Because it has two tissues, two types of tissues. Now, two flaps of tissues. I'll just go through this here. I'll just tell you what I mean. So, it's called bicuspid valve. Okay, and between the right atrium and the right ventricle, there is another valve called tricuspid valve. Okay? Now, because they are between atria and ventricle, they are called atrioventricular valve. What are they called? Atrioventricular valve. And how many atrioventricular valves are present? There are two atrioventricular valves, two AV valves, all right? One is between left atrium and left ventricle, which is called bicuspid, and the other is between right atrium and right ventricle, which is called tricuspid valve. Clear? Okay. Then there is another kind of valve called semilunar valve. Semilunar valve. I hope you're taking notes and writing down.
No.
Yes?
No.
You're supposed to. Why am I talking and giving you all this in chat? Now, the semilunar valves are simply called semilunar because it is like okay. Yes, Prusha. The bicuspid and the tricuspid valve is in between the atria and the ventricle. So between the left atrium and left ventricle, the valve, the atrioventricular valve is called bicuspid valve or the mitral valve. And between the right atrium and right ventricle, the valve is called tricuspid valve. All right. Why they are called bicuspid and tricuspid? Because bicuspid means two flaps of like this. If these are two flaps of tissues, they are together like that. And in tricuspid, you'll have another one here. So when there is a push of blood from atrium to ventricle, it moves like that. So the blood enters the ventricle and then it closes back up. Okay, and because they're between atria and ventricle, it is called atrioventricular valve. Similarly, there are another valves called semilunar valves. The semilunar valve is because they are moon shaped. Okay, and I'm sorry. Where are they present? Well, in the opening of the aorta, there is the semilunar valve called aortic valve, and near the opening of the pulmonary artery, there is this valve called the pulmonary valve. Easy? The semilunar valves are aortic valves and pulmonary valves. Okay. Now,
Miss, could you repeat this thing before you stopped? The valve?
which one?
The semilunar valve?
Semilunar valve. The
Yeah.
semilunar valve is here. It's a moon-shaped like valve. Therefore, it's called semilunar valve. And this valve near which is in the opening of the aorta is called aortic valve. And the one which is in the opening of the pulmonary artery is called the pulmonary valve. Why is it so difficult? What happened? My God, I've been repeating so many times. What does atrioventricular valve mean? Atrioventricular. Between the atria and the ventricle. The valve which is in between atria and ventricle is called atrioventricular valve. And
Miss,
then
your
there
voice
are
is
two
cutting out.
terms, bicuspid and tricuspid. Bicuspid is between the left atrium and the left ventricle. Tricuspid is between the right atrium and right ventricle. Clear? Dasan, whatever I'm saying, it is important for year 10. What do you mean? Don't ask me such questions. It is important, that's why I'm telling you. You must be very surprised because these are big words. Yes, welcome to IGCSEs. You will have to know all of this and much more. And bigger spellings. So now these are the valves. Now when so why are these valves important? Why are we talking about valves, and what is the necessity of learning these big words, and what is the meaning of this? Why are we doing this? Right? You might ask. I think that is why Dasan is asking, is it important for year 10? Why are we learning it? Because why is there a presence of valve? Anybody? Can you guess? Why?
So that blood wouldn't flow back into the heart
Very good.
once it
Right.
goes up.
It prevents the backflow of the blood. So when the atrium contracts, okay, it creates a pressure and makes the blood go into the left ventricle. Because of the pressure, it pushes the blood into the left ventricle. And when it pushes, when the blood pushes, the valve opens and the blood goes into the left ventricle. And then immediately the valve closes. When it closes, it makes a sound lub. Okay, both the valve. Here also, the right atrium contracts, pushes the blood into the right ventricle. When it pushes the blood, this valve, the tricuspid valve, opens and the blood enters the right ventricle. And once it enters the right ventricle, this closes, the tricuspid valve closes. Okay, so when the bicuspid and tricuspid valve closes, it makes a sound lub. Okay, now, and all these valves are there so that backflow of blood does not happen. Here as well, in the aortic valve and pulmonary valve, when the ventricles contract, okay, pulmonary valve, I am showing you this diagram. No, Prusha, can you not see? Where is the pulmonary valve? I have showed this like 4 times now. This is the aortic valve and this is the pulmonary valve. Please pay attention. Or maybe you can't hear. What's going on today? Is that clear? Which is pulmonary valve, which is everybody's clear about this atrioventricular valve and semilunar valve? Please ask me now, because when I go ahead, I will not come back here. Yes? Okay. Somebody tell me, write it to me. Which is the atrioventricular valve? What is the atrioventricular valve? What do you mean you're confused? Oh my God. Okay. Okay. Look
Miss,
at this. Yeah,
your voice is cutting out for me.
that's Dustin, right? Dustin?
Yeah, yeah.
I can't help you. I don't know how to help you with this. Only thing is start recording my lesson.
I recorded it. It will still
Miss,
be
I'm
the
recording.
recording will still be
Miss,
laggy. Oh,
Miss, I'm
okay.
recording.
Okay, good, Daro. So I listen. Adan, Adan, are you here?
Yeah.
Okay. When I say atrioventricular valve, what does that mean?
The atrioventricular valve.
What does it mean?
Isn't this supposed to be the aortic valve, or are they different?
Okay. They are definitely different. I have been telling you that the valve which is in between atrium and ventricle is called atrioventricular valve. What is so difficult to understand this? Atrioventricular means what? Atrium and ventricle. In between atrium and ventricle, the valve is called atrioventricular valve. Are you clear now?
What about the biscuit valve? Wasn't it supposed to be that?
So now listen. Now there are two types of atrioventricular valve. One is bicuspid and the other is tricuspid. Understood? AV valves are of two types. So you can't call this also AV, this also AV, right? But if you want me to tell which AV, then what will you say? This is the bicuspid and this is the tricuspid. Did you understand?
Yeah.
Yes, yourself. Both of them are atrioventricular valves. But Adan, if you want to tell me the valve which is in between left atrium and left ventricle, which valve will you say? If you say AV valve, what will I understand? Which one you mean?
For the
If you,
left,
if you mean the left, then what is that AV valve called?
is it big biscuit?
Bicuspid.
Bicus. Oh my god, I can't pronounce. Sorry.
Say it. Bicuspid. Say
Bicuspid.
right. And if you mean that the valve in between, miss, it is the valve in between right atrium and right ventricle. What will you say? It's an AV valve. No. What will you say? It is a
Tricuspid.
valve. Right. Now, the valve which is in the mouth of the aorta, which is at the opening of the aorta, that is called a semilunar valve. Okay. The valve which is in the pulmonary artery, that is also a semilunar valve. Now, to distinguish between these two semilunar valves, the one which is at the aorta is called aortic valve, and the valve which is in the pulmonary artery is called the pulmonary valve. Clear?
And they are semi-lunar.
That is right.
Okay.
Everybody, do you understand now? Dasan, do you understand now? Dasan?
I do.
Okay, good. Can I move on? Now, do you know about the all valves where each one is? You have to remember. Okay, Dasan and everybody else. Dasan is not saying anything. Was it Daro or
I
Dasan?
said yes, miss.
Okay, good. Good. Okay. Right. Now, so the deoxygenated blood from the body is pumped through the deoxygenated blood comes to the heart. Okay, let me remember. Let me see how much you remember. Where does the deoxygenated blood come to the heart from? From the body, the deoxygenated blood comes to the heart. Which part of the heart?
Left.
Deoxygenated.
Right.
Right. Very good. Okay. And the oxygenated blood, from the right part of the heart, the deoxygenated blood is pumped into the pulmonary artery to the lungs, and from the lungs it gets oxygenated and comes into the where? From the lungs it comes
Pulmonary
into the
vein.
through the pulmonary vein into the, where does it come?
Into the left atrium.
Left atrium.
Right, left atrium, and then to the left ventricle, and then it is pushed through the aorta to different parts of the body. Right, I just recapitulated everything that we did last time. Now, so did I not do this? I mean, deoxygenated blood enters the right atrium through these vessels, superior vena cava and inferior vena cava, right? You can just write vena cava, and because it is two vena cavas, you in bio you don't say vena cavas. What do you say? You say vena That means 2. Okay. So everybody got that? What I mean? So if you don't want to write superior and inferior vena cava, you can just write vena cava. So this deoxygenated blood comes to the right atrium through the vena cava. From the right atrium, it goes to the right ventricle. Now, from the right ventricle through pulmonary artery, it goes to the lungs, where it gets oxygenated. The blood, deoxygenated blood gets oxygenated. Now, this oxygenated blood then through pulmonary veins, there are 2 right and left pulmonary veins. They enter the left atrium. From the left atrium, it goes to the left ventricle. From the left ventricle through aorta, it is pushed to the different parts of the body. Yeah, via systems of arteries, capillaries, and arterioles. Now, this slide, everybody understands what is going on, everything that we already discussed, how the blood moves
Miss,
from the heart to different parts of the body.
Miss,
Right?
can we write it down?
No need, you don't have to write.
Okay.
This will, you already know this. This is the notes that is given to you. All these highlighted things you can just click on this and you will get little notes on each one of them. All right. This is basically everything that I just told. Left hand side of the heart receives oxygenated blood from the lungs via the pulmonary veins into the left atrium. This oxygenated blood passes through the bicuspid valve into the left ventricle. It is then pumped to the aorta under greater pressure, as explained below. This higher pressure ensures that the oxygenated blood leaves the heart via the aorta, is effectively delivered to different parts of the body. So basically, what we have already said, here the blood comes from the lungs through pulmonary veins. This pushes the blood through the atrium, contracts and pushes the blood through the bicuspid valve into the left ventricle. When this left ventricle contracts, it again creates a pressure which pushes the blood into the aorta through aortic valve, and then it gives to the rest of the body. Same thing, it happens here in the right part of the heart, right? So I just wanted you to see this, how the bicuspid and the tricuspid valve, they function. Okay, just look at this. You don't have to see the this is a tricuspid valve. Look, like that it opens. There are 3 flaps. Do you see this? This is a tricuspid valve. There are 3 flaps of tissues which open, and therefore it is called tricuspid. The bicuspid will be again 2 tissues. So, okay. When you get this slide, go through the whole video, but I just wanted to show you how the tricuspid valve looks. What do I mean by 3 flaps of tissues? Clear? Do you understand how the tricuspid valve looks?
Yes.
Right. Now, just a second. Wait. Okay. I have just finished all of this. This is again a repetition of what we were saying all this time, but it's in a way of animation. How the blood flows into the heart. Look at this yellow point here, the yellow spot, that's the blood. If that is the blood, then blood flows through the vena cava into the right atrium. And from the right atrium, the blood flows past through the tricuspid valve to the right ventricle. Then it goes through the pulmonary artery into the lungs, and blood flows back to the left atrium through the pulmonary vein, and then passes through the bicuspid valve into the left ventricle, then from the left ventricle into the aorta and around the rest of the body. Was that clear enough for you? Anybody who has any doubt can ask me now. Okay. So this is a diagram where it shows how the blood always flows in the same direction as it moves through the heart during circulation of the body, right? Why is it important that blood does not flow backwards? Any answer to that? Why is it important that blood does not flow backwards? Why?
It causes a problem.
Huh?
It causes a problem inside the heart.
What kind of problem? What do you mean by problem? You are right, there is a problem, but okay, if you suppose if this was not there, suppose this valve, do you see this flap? This is the valve here. Suppose this was not there and the blood came back. It didn't go through it completely. Little bit of it went back. What
The
will
part of
happen?
the body won't get the blood, and it will just
Correct.
stay.
Won't have enough supply of oxygen very fast, right? Therefore, it is important to prevent backflow of the blood. Now, the chambers of the heart are separated by walls which prevent blood from flowing in the wrong direction. It only allows the blood to flow in one direction, right? So the valve between the right atrium and right ventricle, and this is the valve between the left atrium and left ventricle. Yes. What is the question? Yes, good. So there are valves between the atria and the ventricle, and there are valves leading out of the ventricle. So these are the different points. So what are these valves called? The valves between the atrium and ventricle? Aza, can you tell me? What is the valves called between the atrium and the ventricle?
The two ones, like in specific bicuspid and
No.
tricuspid, or
Very
just
good. Just the general.
atrioventricular.
Very good. Atrioventricular. And Shadiar, are you here? Shadiar? Is Shadiar here? No? Okay. Dustin, can you say what are these valves which lead out of the left ventricle and right ventricle called?
Sorry, miss, your voice is cutting out for me like a lot. I can't hear it.
What
All I
is
heard
this
was valve.
called? What are these called? Here and here. No? Prusha, can you tell me what are these valves called? You can write it to me. Yes. You can give me a general name or specific name. I don't care. Just give me what are they called? Semilunar valves. Very good. And the one in the pulmonary artery is called pulmonary valve, and the one in the aorta is called aortic valve. Right. Now I'm sure you guys have got this right. Right, I'm not going to go through this in detail. You just go through how valves work. Okay, you just have to know this bicuspid valve. It prevents the backflow of blood from the left atrium. The bicuspid valve permits blood to flow one way only from the left atrium into the left ventricle. Pulmonary valve is opened by the increased blood pressure in the okay. Now, you have to know these two words, systole and diastole. Now, what is systole? Systole is when the atria they contract, or when the ventricles they contract. It is called systole. How do you write systole? Systole. Systole. Okay, it means contraction. And what is relaxation called? Relaxation is called diastole. Okay, so why am I saying this? Systole and diastole. Okay,
What does systole mean?
diastole means relaxation.
What?
Systole means contraction. So when the atria contract, it's called atrial systole. When the ventricles contract, it's called ventricular systole. When atria relaxes, it's called diastole, atrial diastole. When the ventricles relax, it's ventricular diastole. Do you understand? Systole means contraction and diastole means relaxation. Clear? Can I go ahead now? Okay. So, when, okay. So the pulmonary valve, we are talking about pulmonary valve. This valve is opened by increased pressure of the increased blood pressure, which is created due to ventricular systole. What is the ventricular systole means? The ventricles contract. That creates a pressure, and this pressure helps the blood to move through this pulmonary valve. Okay, it closes again. What closes? The pulmonary valve closes again when ventricles undergo relaxation, or when the ventricles undergo diastole. During ventricular diastole, this relaxes and the pulmonary valve closes. Okay. Okay, ask me questions, please. Do you understand or not? Look, aortic valve again. So ventricular contraction or systole is happening almost simultaneously. So when the ventricular systole occurs, both aortic valve and pulmonary valve they open, allowing their respective blood to enter the blood vessel. Right? In the left ventricle, what is opening? When there is ventricular systole, the aortic valve. When this valve opens, blood rushes into the aorta, and when the ventricle undergo relaxation, it does not come back because of the presence of this valve. It's something like this. Let me show you something very simple to explain this. Okay, I have this bottle of sanitizer, right? Imagine this as your aortic valve. I'm sorry, aorta. Imagine this as the aorta, right? And you have a valve here. Look, imagine this as the aorta. This is the blood, okay? When this thing contracts, when I contract this, are you listening to me? Everybody understanding what I'm saying?
Yes, miss.
Okay. Look, if I create a contraction, if this is the heart, say the left part of the heart, this is the aorta, there is a valve here, okay? If I use ventricular contraction, that means I'm creating a pressure like this, like this, yeah? What happened? When I creating a contraction, it enters this aorta, right? The moment I'm relaxing it, it's going down. Do you see this? The moment I relax, it comes down, right? To prevent this backflow, there is this valve, which closes the moment there is relaxation. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? This is the only way I can show it here. Adan, did you understand what I'm trying to say? Okay, so the same thing happens inside the heart. What is this contraction called? Contraction is called systole. Relaxation is called diastole. So when this is contracting, when the ventricles contract, the blood rises. The pressure makes the blood to push into the aorta, and when it relaxes, the blood naturally tends to come down, but because there is a valve, it closes it, and then the blood does not come down. That's the function of the valves, okay? That's all I'm trying to show you. So, you can go through this video later on, okay? Now, how the heart pumps blood is over here. Let's look at this. Imagine the force needed to squeeze a tennis ball, okay? That's how much force the heart uses to pump blood around the body for 24 hours a day. But how does the heart produce enough force to keep going, keep doing this 24 hours a day? The heart can pump blood because it is made of muscles which contracts and relax, okay? So when two atria contracts and relax, the two ventricles contract and relax. When they contract, it is called systole, and when they relax, it is called diastole. Okay, this is how blood moves through the heart and is pumped to the lungs and the body. One complete sequence of contraction and relaxation is called a heartbeat, right? So a heartbeat, this is the stages of the heartbeat. Very important. Please go through this very carefully, right? A heartbeat begins with the heart muscles relaxed and valves closed. How does it begin? With the heart muscles relaxed. Everything is relaxed here, and the valves are closed, right? The blood flows, when the heart relaxes, the blood flows into the atria, like both the atria. Now this blood, which is in the right and the left end atria, they have to now go into the right and the left ventricle, right? Now, how does it go? How does this happen? The atria contract and the blood is squeezed, which cause the valves leading to ventricles to open. So atria squeeze, that means it contracts, atrial systole happens, and which makes the blood squeeze through the valve, opening the valve into the ventricles. Blood then flows from the atria into the ventricles. What happens to the open valves when the atria are empty? Anybody? What do you think will happen to the valve when the atria are empty? That means all the blood is in the ventricles now.
It closes.
It closes, right? And the walls between the atria and the ventricles, they close. This prevents the backflow of the blood. Now listen to me very carefully when what I'm saying. When the valve closes, it makes a sound called lub. Lub. L-U-B, lub. Okay? And now, what happens next to the blood in the ventricles? Almost immediately, the ventricles contract. That means they undergo a systole. And this creates a pressure. The pressure of the blood forces open the valves here in the aorta and in the pulmonary artery, and the blood is pumped out of the heart, right? What happens to the valves when the ventricles are empty? The valves close again, okay? So when the ventricles are empty and the blood is inside these arteries, the valves close. When the aortic valve and the pulmonary valve close, it makes a sound called dub. And therefore, the heartbeat is called lub dub, lub dub, lub dub. It goes on going like that. That means what? Lub is the sound which is created when the atrioventricular valves close, and dub is the sound created when the semilunar valves close. Okay? So when the ventricles are empty, the valves leading out of the heart closes and the heart muscles relax. Okay, so now at this stage, the heart is relaxing, and then at that moment, the atria gets filled up and this cycle begins again. So, did you understand the stages of heartbeat? Tell me now, please. Yusuf, Adan, everybody else, did you understand how the heart beats? The atria contracts first, blood pushes down into the ventricle, and the valves close. Atrioventricular valves close, ventricles contract, and then you have the blood pushed into the aorta and pulmonary artery. And when ventricles relax, those valves, the semilunar valves, close, and the heart relaxes, atria gets filled up with blood again. Okay, so that's the heartbeat, stages of heartbeat. Now, tell me, why are the walls of the atria thinner than the walls of the ventricles? Why are the walls of atria thinner than the walls of the ventricles? Somebody give me an answer, please.
Is it because of atria gives the oxygen, makes blood oxygenated?
No, 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 no. It has nothing to do with oxygenated blood or deoxygenated
Wait,
blood.
where was the atria again?
Why are the walls of the atria thinner than the walls of the ventricle? Aaron, are you here? Aaron. Aaron is also not here. Okay. Dasan, can you tell me, why are the walls of the atria thinner than the walls of the ventricle?
Is it because the ventricle needs to contract more to push the blood?
So, in other words, atria, they don't need to push too hard because the blood just has to get into the ventricle, right? So the pressure is not, too much pressure is not required to be created. Therefore, the walls of the atria are thinner than the walls of the ventricle. I think you said the same thing. You just said in the opposite way. Okay. Now, Yusuf, tell me, why is the wall of the left ventricle thicker than the right ventricle? Why is the wall of the left ventricle thicker than the right ventricle? Do you have a microphone? Otherwise, you can write and tell me. Or anybody, tell me, why is the wall of the left ventricle, while Yusuf is typing, can you just tell me, why is the wall of the, okay.
Because the blood pressure is more in that side?
Blood pressure is more or
The blood pumped out of the heart, the pressure is more than the atrial side.
very good, Daniela. Aza, that's the answer. This is due to the higher forces or high pressure is needed to pump blood through the systemic circuit. More pressure is required in the left side because in the left ventricle you have the aorta which passes or which transfers the blood to the systemic circuit, and it requires higher pressure. That is why the ventricular wall is thicker. Left ventricle wall is thicker than the right ventricle wall. Very good. Okay. I think most of you got that, right? Okay. Yes, Yusuf. Right. Stages of heartbeat animation. Whatever we've learned so far, this is a very, very good website. You can go through this. This is for A levels, but this one you can use it for yourself for IGCSEs as well. So the heart is a muscle which pumps blood to the body. It is a double pump consisting of the right side and left side separated by a septum. Remember the septum. Okay. Now, the heart has 4 chambers. We know all of this. Now, these are the valves. Look at the valves carefully. Bicuspid, tricuspid, pulmonary, and aortic. Just because this is here does not mean, you have to see which is the artery they have pointed out. If this is the pulmonary artery, this will be the pulmonary valve, right? Okay. Now, let's do this. So the right and the left side of the heart work together. The right side pumps deoxygenated blood from the heart to the lungs via the pulmonary artery. The left side pumps oxygenated blood to the rest of the body via the aorta, right? Now, first they will show you atria filling up with blood. The heart's pumping action begins as the deoxygenated blood returns from the body through the superior and inferior vena cava and fills the right atrium. Okay. First, they will show you in this animation only how the deoxygenated blood goes to the heart. And then in the next part, they will show you how the oxygenated blood goes through the heart. But you must remember that this is happening simultaneously. Are you with me, everybody? Can you see this, what I'm showing you? Okay. Yeah? Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So now we are only looking at deoxygenated blood's movement. But in real, both deoxygenated and oxygenated blood move at the same time, right? Okay. Now look at this deoxygenated blood. It is, as the right atrium fills with blood, it contracts and forces the blood into the right ventricle. The tricuspid valve opens due to the pressure of blood against it. This is called atrial systole. Okay, do you see here? The red is the oxygenated blood which enters the left side. Then, as the right ventricle fills with blood and the tricuspid valve closes, preventing any backflow of the blood into the atrium. Then, when the right ventricle is full with blood, it contracts. The pulmonary valve opens, allowing the blood to flow into the pulmonary artery and onto the lungs. This is called ventricular systole. The pulmonary valves close to prevent backflow of the blood into the right ventricle. In the lungs, gas exchange takes place where carbon dioxide is exhaled and oxygen is inhaled, which moves into the blood. Then this oxygenated blood returns from the lungs through the pulmonary veins and fills the left atrium. This is called diastole, okay, because atrium was relaxing that time. Now blood enters the left atrium, and when it is full, it contracts. This opens the bicuspid valve, forces blood into the left ventricle. This is known as atrial systole. This occurs at the same time as the right atrium contracts. You should remember that. All this is happening simultaneously. As the left ventricle is filled with blood, the bicuspid valve closes, preventing any backflow of blood. Then the ventricle contracts, aortic valve opens, and the pulmonary, this also opens, but now we are just doing one at a time, allowing oxygenated blood to be pumped into the aorta, the largest artery in the body. The blood from here is pumped to the rest of the body. This is called ventricular systole. This occurs at the same time as the right ventricle is contracting. Remember that. The aortic valve prevents backflow of blood into the left ventricle, and then this whole thing starts again. Is there any point where you did not understand what I was talking about or what's going on in here? Please ask me questions now. Clear? If there is no question, I'll go through the next part. So, you mean you've understood, all of you? Hello, answer me.
Yes,
This is clear?
miss, I understood. Yes, miss, I understood. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Good.
Yes,
Okay,
miss, I understood.
good. Is there anybody who wants me to repeat any part or you didn't understand? Okay. I think I went
No,
very slow and
I
I have,
already understood everything.
okay, good. Because I have repeated myself many times. I've shown you animations and I've shown you through
Yeah.
presentation many times the same thing so that you get it
Oh,
right.
it's been going on for an hour. I didn't realize that. Time flies, doesn't it? Sorry for going off topic.
It's okay, Mustafa. I'm glad for you. Time is flying. That means you're understanding what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Also,
So
why
let's-
did you say that? Are we getting close to the end?
About what?
Nothing.
About the class?
Forget I said anything. Forget I said anything.
Okay. Okay. Right. No, I am not. I mean, we've just finished an hour. I have another 45 minutes. So if you want to take 5 minutes break at this point, it's good.
Nah,
But
I don't need no break. I'm already pretty good.
I think I'll just go through the revision of last class and this class and then go to the next topic. Okay. So not coronary heart disease. Oh God, no.
Miss,
Yeah, yeah.
so till when do we have a lesson?
You will have it till it's 4:35 right now.
It's 4:39.
Or 4:39.
Yeah,
So till 5:15.
okay,
Okay.
okay.
So quickly we will go through this, okay, and then go to the next topic. Blood enters via the atria, atria contracts, forcing the blood down into the ventricles, and then in ventricles contract, then they force blood to exit the heart, right? So they force blood to exit the heart. Right. Let's go to the next thing. Exam question. Which structure stop blood flowing backwards in the heart? Do you think? What stops the blood to flow backward in the heart? Come on, we know it. It's the
Valves.
right. Okay. So now I have to, before we get into this, I have to show you something here. We talked about this lub dub lub dub lub dub, right? That is the sound of the heartbeat or the sound of the heart valves closing, right? The lub is caused by the closing of the valves leading into ventricles, and dub is caused by the closing of the valves leading out of the heart, right? So this closing of these valves is called lub, and closing of these valves is called dub. Is not called, the sound it produces is dub, right? And so you can measure how fast your heart is beating by taking your pulse. And what is the pulse? Pulse is if you okay, if you touch your skin here, right below the thumb, okay, this is the place, this is called the pulse point. Okay, if you touch it here, you will feel that your artery here, it goes like this. You can feel that the artery is expanding and contracting, and you can feel that. Can you do that for yourself? Tell me if you can feel the pulse here. And what does that mean? So, a pulse is caused by expansion and relaxation of the artery as the pressure in the heart is being created. So, when there is a pressure created, the blood is thrown into the aorta, and that makes the artery over here expand. And then when the pressure is gone, it relaxes. That is what is pulse. So a pulse is caused by the expansion and relaxation of the artery. Okay, so this pulse you feel due to the pressure of the blood leaving the heart as the left ventricle contracts. Did you understand what I just said? What is a pulse? Pulse is caused by the expansion and relaxation of the artery caused due to the pressure of blood leaving the heart as the left ventricle contracts. Please write it down. Pulse, what is pulse? Gosh. So wait, before I... What happened? I had this written somewhere. 1 second, just give me a second. Never mind. Okay, the pulse is the... here it is. Okay. The pulse is the pressure wave passing through the arteries as a result of heartbeat. Write this definition of pulse. What is a pulse? Pulse is the pressure wave passing through the arteries as a result of heartbeat. Okay? Now, before I go through all of this ECG and big topic, did you write this down, everybody? What is a pulse? Okay, I'm moving on then.
Miss, wait.
Pulse is the today Dylan is not here. So many people not here today. Okay, so I'm going to the next little thing that I want to explain to you. There is a patch of tissue in the right atrium which sets the pace for beating of the heart. That means this is the place where the signal comes from the brain for the heart to beat. What is this place called? Sinus node or the pacemaker. So the rate of the heartbeat is controlled by this tissue called pacemaker. Do you understand what I'm saying? The heart has to beat, right? The heart, for beating, the heart must get a signal to beat. Who gives you the signal? The nerves. They give you the signal. And there is a patch of tissue which is given information from the brain to make the heart beat. Okay? And that patch of tissue is called pacemaker. So the rate of heartbeat is controlled by pacemaker. Where is it placed? It is placed here on the upper portion of the right atrium. Now, in some people who go through a bad lifestyle or unfortunately for some reason, if the pacemaker stops working, what do you think will happen? Huh? What do you think will happen if the pacemaker doesn't work properly?
A steady heartbeat.
Unsteady heartbeat, or if it is severe, the heart will stop beating. Then what will happen to the person?
Heart attack, probably.
They die.
Heart attack, or it could be fatal, right? But you know, if nowadays there's these people are taken, if they are admitted in the hospital on time, then doctors have access to something called artificial pacemaker, which is called a pulse generator, and they can implant this artificial pacemaker inside the person's body, and it gives the signal to the heart just like the original pacemaker, natural pacemaker, and the heart starts beating. And that's how you can save the people with defective or pacemakers which are not functioning right. Like this in the x-ray over here, do you see? This is an artificial pacemaker implanted in a patient, and because of this pacemaker, the heart beats normally. If this stops working, this has to be checked it has to be monitored, and every 10 years almost they can change the battery. So this has to be monitored from time to time so that the pacemaker is all in good shape, so that the heart gets to beat. Clear? So now going back to this. So a group of cells in the right atrium act as what should I write here? Acts as come on. It controls the timing of the heartbeat. Irregular heart rates can be corrected using electrical
Pacemaker.
devices. Yes. Okay. Now, this tells you everything that we've been doing so far, and shows you the different parts of the heart, the different valves, and there's a note over here you can go through later. It tells you everything that we have been talking so far. Then, little revision here. Mustafa, can you tell me what is this? What should I write here? What atrium is this? Mustafa? What atrium is this here?
I'm sorry, miss, but I can't reply.
Why?
It's reasons my computer is burning and I'm trying to fix it.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry, I'm still
That
trying
all-
to pay attention.
Oh, I don't know. Then how are you
Yes,
seeing?
miss.
Can you not see my screen?
Yes, I can see the screen, but my computer is very hot and I'm trying to fix it.
You don't have to do anything. You just have to tell me one word here.
Oh,
Mustafa.
it's a. I swear I know
What
what the
part is
term is,
this,
but I don't remember.
Mustafa? Just look at this part. What is this called?
Left.
Very
No.
good.
Yeah,
Left
left.
atrium. Thank you.
Yeah.
Daro, what is this? Left?
The
Left
left,
ventricles.
the left ventricle.
Right.
And this one is the right atrium, and this one's the left ventricle. I mean, right.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Ah,
Good. Good job.
better late than never answering.
All right, Mustafa, thank you. Compared to the right ventricle, the walls of the left ventricle are same thickness, thicker, thinner. Adan, quickly. Compared to the right ventricle, the walls of the left ventricle are same thickness, thicker, or thinner.
I think it's thinner.
Are you sure? Left ventricle, Adan.
Oh,
They're the
oh,
same?
is it the thicker?
Why is Daro saying same? All this big talk about why ventricle, left ventricle is thicker than right ventricle, and now it is same, Daro.
It's just, I don't know.
Okay. The beating of the heart. Order the steps describing how the heart works. Let me see. Who's going to do this? 1, 2, 3. Which will come first? Come on. Anybody?
Is 3 the first one?
Miss, can I try?
Yeah. Who said 3 the first one? You're
Me.
right. Me means what? Tell me the name.
Dasan.
Dasan. Okay. Yes, Daro. Who else was saying can I try? Try, please.
Me, it was me, Adan.
Okay, Adan.
I think the third one is the second one.
Right. So blood enters the heart via the atria. Once filled with blood, the atria contract, forcing blood down into the ventricles below. Then ventricles contract, they force blood to exit the heart. Right. Okay. Good. So the heart is the dash organ that pumps blood around the body. Is the what organ?
Is it the circulatory organ?
Okay. I don't know, but we'll write. Circulatory organ. No. Okay. We'll check later. That pumps blood around the body. It has how many chambers?
4.
The left and the right.
Atrium.
And the left. What?
Left. No,
And
right ventricle.
The muscular organ, right? And that this should be atria. Right, it's okay. Good. Next, see the heart monitoring. You are doing very well, by the way, let me tell you. It took a while to get into the groove, but I think it's okay now. Okay, so monitoring heart rate. Heart rate can be measured in different ways, okay? One is the ECG. This is called a machine called electrocardiogram. I was showing you this picture in this presentation. Look at this. The electrocardiogram functions like this. There are electrodes attached to the ECG machine, which are stuck onto the surface of the skin of the patient. Like the chest, arms, and legs, you will have electrodes stuck to it. And then the electrical activity which is associated with the heartbeat is then monitored and viewed on the computer screen. Okay, so look over here, there's a patient here, and on his body, they will fix electrodes, and those electrodes will be connected to this computer, and the heart's electrical activity. It's all about electricity, by the way. From the pacemaker, nerves carry electricity, right? So those nerves which go around the heart, they help in beating the heart. Okay. So that electrical activity is captured through the electrode into this monitor or computer, and that is called ECG machine. Okay. Now,
Miss,
hmm,
don't they have it on Apple Watches?
don't they have what?
They have this on Apple Watches as well.
Oh yeah, the Apple watches are also doing almost the same thing. I mean, where is the watch? We wear the watch where? On the wrist, right?
Yeah, it's on the button.
No, not just the button. What I'm trying to say is the watch, only the watch can monitor the heartbeat. Why? Because it's here. And what is here I showed you?
It's the
The pulse.
The pulse.
And what is the pulse? The pulse is same as the heartbeat, how fast the heart is beating. Therefore, the Apple Watches or any such watch which can detect the pulse of the person can tell you how many beats per minute. That is the whole logic of Apple Watch. Good, you brought that up. Good. Okay. So sensors are attached to the skin. These are called electrodes to detect the electrical signals made when the heart beats. All right. This is one way. This is another way. The way that I showed you, pulse points at the wrist and the neck. In the neck also there is a pulse point. In movies and series and thrillers, you always see this. Whenever there is a murder or somebody is not well, what do the paramedics come and do? They touch you here, right? This is the point of pulse. Like this is the point of pulse. So these are called pulse points. They tell you whether the heart is beating. If the heart is beating, you'll have that feeling, sensation. Right? So that is another way of monitoring the heartbeat. And then what is another way? Stethoscope. Right? Have you heard of this name, stethoscope? You must have seen it on all doctors. Right? What do? They put the stethoscope on the patient's chest, and the walls of the heart can be heard as they open and close, and therefore they get to hear the sound lub dub lub dub lub dub, that sound. And by counting it per minute, they know whether your heart is beating fine. Okay? How many beats per minute do you know? About 70 to 72 beats per minute in a normal human being and an adult. And in children, they have much more than 100 beats per minute. Okay? Right. So, what are the ways to monitor heart rate? So, this will be, this is some rate. What is this rate?
Pulse
this
rate.
will be pulse rate. This will be anything. What did we see?
That'll be a stethoscope.
Stethoscope, of course. Stethoscope. And what else?
ECG. Or electrocardiogram.
Very good. Okay. Something points at the wrist and neck are where the flow of blood can be felt passing through, and what? What are these points at the wrist and neck? Pulse points at the wrist and neck are where the blood flow of blood can be felt passing through, and what does it pass through?
Arteries.
Arteries. Very good. Okay. Now, effects of exercise. Before I carry on with this, did you do the questions on page 109? Did you do the questions on page 109? 9.1 onwards?
I wanted to do it today, but I forgot it.
So you will do all the 12 questions.
But Miss, you told us 9.1 till 9.7.
So today you will do all others too. You
Okay.
can do it. We finished that. Okay?
Okay.
So now let's go to the topic. What is the time? 5. Okay, 10 more minutes, so we should be done with this. Right. So when you exercise, what is happening? Effects of exercise, right? You know what? This is a big topic, and I want you to be fresh. This is not something that we want to do now. Okay. Let's go through the question answer, rather. Let's see. Or did I go through any of this? Wait. Oh, I don't know what's going on. Okay. Where is that? 1 second. I want you to do some revision task. Some work on, yeah, this one. Did we do this worksheet last time? Tell me, students. Did you do this fill in the blanks? Come on, quickly.
I
Yes,
don't
or
think
no?
so.
I don't think so.
Okay. So let's do this quickly as a revision of this whole lesson. As a plenary, I'll just recap everything. Okay, good. So let's do this. Write the correct term in each blank to answer the questions or complete the sentence. Okay, so you will write quickly and send me. What pumps blood through your body? Of course. Quickly. Heart. Right, okay. Blood vessels that carry blood away from the heart are called
Arteries.
arteries. Right. Vessels that carry blood back to the heart are called.
Veins.
Okay, write it down right. Okay. Blood moves from arteries to veins through tiny blood vessels, which is called capillaries. Okay, you don't need to know this now. The heart, blood vessels, and blood make up the what? The heart, blood vessels, and the blood make up the circulatory system. That's right, Dasan. Okay. Let me see. Here, this one. The transport of materials in living things is called, from these words here, the transport of materials in living things is called circulation. That's right. In human, circulation is carried out by the liquid called,
Blood.
right. Blood is pumped by the
Heart.
heart. Blood brings to cells things like what and what?
Brings to cells things like heart.
Correct, Dasan. Is it only Dasan or nobody else is writing or what? Yusuf. Oxygen and food. Very good. Okay. Um, blood picks up dash from the cells. What does it pick up?
Oxygen.
Ah,
No.
Karo.
I did it wrong. I
From
did it
the
wrong.
cells.
From the
From the
cell.
cells. And it's written over here.
Waste materials, I guess.
That is right. Waste materials.
I did something wrong.
Any tube that carries blood is called a
Vessel.
Blood vessel.
a blood vessel. The three kinds of blood vessels are
Arteries, capillaries, veins.
very good. Blood is carried away from the heart by
Artery.
blood is carried back to the heart by
Veins.
Vein.
arteries and veins are connected by tiny blood vessels
Capillaries.
called true or false. Circulation is the transport of materials and living things.
True.
Right, T or F? Circulation is the transport of materials and living things. Okay. True. Life stops when circulation stops. Right. True. Blood is pumped by the brain. Yeah, right. Blood is pumped by the brain. True. Daniela, which one are you answering? Right. False, Daniela. Good. Okay. Blood circulates through the body only a few times a day.
Waffis.
Arteries carry blood away from the heart. True or false? True. Arteries transport carbon dioxide to the cells. True or false? Arteries carry carbon dioxide to the cells. True or false? False. Mute yourself, Taro, please. Or whoever
Miss,
this is.
it's not me. It's Ada Said.
Ara, mute yourself.
Alright.
Veins carry blood away from the heart. True? Yes? Veins carry blood away from the heart. Why is it false? Oh, yeah. Okay. Veins pick up waste material from the cells. True or false? True. Okay. Capillaries connect arteries and veins. That's true. We're talking about capillaries are the largest blood vessels. True or false? Capillaries are the largest blood vessels. True or false? I think that is, yes, that is false. That's right. I think so far so good. I am confident about you guys. You've understood the lesson, I feel. So right now, don't go, although I'm almost done. I just want to check who all are here, okay? So I'll just take your attendance right now so that I'm sure of people who are really here and people who are not. So give me 1 minute and then you can go, okay? Let me just write your names. So attendance. Okay, this is 10A. 10A. Gosh, I don't know why this comes up every time. Okay, Adan is here. Hello, you have to say if you're here, please. Adan, you don't have to write yes or no, please say.
Yeah, miss.
Okay. Ali is in 10A or 10B? I think he's in 10B, no?
He's in 10B.
Ara Saeed is here.
Yes, miss, I'm here.
So I knew he was
Ara
here.
Adiban is here.